How's it going, everybody? It's been a long time. Thanks for being patient. I'm going to try to do a video right now. Maybe I'm a little bit rusty, but yeah, I've been away. I was away for 2 months to Romania, as some of you may have known, and it was quite the trip. I went there to be shocked in every way, and I was. You got to give your system a shock whenever you decide to change your environment and your surroundings and the people around you, and you pretty well have to enter a whole new world in order to give your system a readjustment, a reorganization, and that's equals growth. And I also went on this trip to get out into the field and do some more study and kind of a sabbatical on female nature. Study women, study relationships, being in a relationship, to study a relationship. That's the best way that one can ever do it, and bring to you my experience and bring to you my acquired additional knowledge, and to disclose it to you, what I've learned, involve that into my topics. And it was quite an interesting. It started off in a very different way, and it ended up in a totally different place, emotionally, psychologically, in every which way. I can't really say much about it because I'm still kind of confused by it, and I don't exactly know what happened, and I can just surmise a few things to the best of my ability. Basically, I went in with very good intentions. I went in with a wish for romantic realization. I went in to break the monotony of everyday life that I lead, and I'm sure everybody else leads. I wanted to enter a whole different world, different country, different culture, different individual to be in a relationship with, different individual to sleep with, live with, spend time with, have sex with, to love. It's a very useful and necessary restructuring of one's whole outlook on life. If you are ever in a depressive mode, depressive situation, which is recurring and persistent, then get yourself in one of these situations where you absolutely enter a different world and you shock your system. And you can't play it safe. If you play it safe, it will not work. If you try to do it in your regular environment, it will not work. You actually have to remove yourself. You have to have a timeout, but in completeness, on every level. And that's what I did. So I started out in one place, and the trip morphed into something absolutely different. So I went in as the person I was, and I came out as somewhat a different person. As funny as that sounds, and I don't want to make it sound almost in a feminine way that I've discovered myself. I discovered who I was. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. All I'm trying to say is I came out wiser and more experienced. And I do this periodically. I have to do it. It's a compulsion that I have. And it usually ends up that I become a much more knowledgeable, perceptive, intuitive individual who has a much keener insight, or somewhat keener insight, than I had when I first went into the new situation, to the new experience. So I went in with the best of intentions, a clear heart, and I sat back and watched. And I wanted to see how this woman will handle me and will handle any situation that I put her in. I just sat back and watched and gave her every chance that I could. She would either fail or she would triumph. I was available. As you know, I met Maria, and things progressed very quickly, and I understood her situation, but it was an impossible situation from the very start because we come from very different backgrounds, very different experiences. I come from a long marriage. I come from a family situation, having kids and everything, and she comes from a situation where she's a single woman. And the two don't match, especially if the single woman has a difficult personality and is very resistant to adaptation, resistant to take risks, and is very resistant to make sacrifices, and is very resistant to leave the safety of her bubble, her emotional bubble. And this whole metaphor of the bubble came up over and over again over this relationship, in that she very much takes refuge in her bubble. And I'm not a bubble type of guy. When I see bubble, I like to put a pin to it and shatter it. And in terms of the techniques of the single woman, they suffer from being devoid of technique, being devoid of methods in order to realize, to make happen, to maintain, to initiate a relationship for themselves. It has to do with the unwillingness of the single woman to adapt. The unwillingness to break up her routine, to break up her obsessive structure. She cannot compromise. A woman who has been single for a long time, too long, is unwilling to compromise. And that affects her whole ability to secure any relationship. And even if she does, with the most passive of males, it will be short-lived. And she will do the cycle all over again. Usually, a single woman financially is able to live a life without compromise, without compromising to a man. And that's dangerous. She's single because she can. Now, in these degenerate times, that may be praised and respected. But the bottom line is that she will not be in any relationship. That's the bottom line. No matter how glorified her situation may artificially be considered. A single woman usually wants to be in a relationship and bring in a partner as nothing more than an accessory, like a pet. She can keep on the shelf and reach for it whenever she wants it. That's how a single woman imagines, approaches her perfect relationship. She sets herself up for failure from the very beginning because of her approach, her attitude, her absolute narcissistic selfishness, her solipsism. She knows and cares nothing beyond herself. Yes, she gives you the rhetoric. She gives you the false narrative of the ideal female. And she lies to herself about it. About how benevolent and how loving and how caring and how self-denying she may be. But it's a lie. It's an absolute lie. She has no skills and no volition to put anyone before her or to give anything, including love, unconditionally. And this woman, the bubble girl, actually pointed out and disclosed that she will never love, if she even understands what love means, unconditionally. Never. Never again. I don't know if she ever did. And if she did, she was scammed. She was scammed by a sociopath. And she went running. She scurried into her bubble and encapsulated herself inside for the ultimate form of self-protection and isolation, emotional isolation. What in fact she does is she absolutely objectifies the male. The male has no feelings. The male has no needs. The male should have no interests, no autonomy. And she's always in control. She's the dominant one. Fundamentally, underneath, she is the domineering, dominant one. That's the perfect relationship as the single woman imagines it. A single woman has finances that she has complete ownership over. It's another hurdle, another obstacle. That cannot be overcome within a relationship because she is going to be protective of her finances. She's not able to share because of that. Everything is hers. There's nothing joint. It's very hard for her to be able to share. The predominant characteristic of a single woman is that she's unable to share. She's unable to share anything and unwilling. I keep coming back to this. It's not having the skills to, but also not having the willingness to share. They can't share anything. They can't share emotions, and they can't share their finances. They can't share their time. They can't share their plans. They can't share their dreams. What it all comes down to is they can't share their future. And then there's no future together. No future to be had. There's no permanence. There's no commitment. All that there is left is the whore. She's nothing more than a fucking whore. In the eyes of any man. In the eyes of honest and rational, judgmental women, of which there's not too many to find. But that's what, in fact, the single woman is. The single woman is the ultimate whore. And she's even a failure at being a whore. She's a failure at being a whore because of one thing. You cannot be a whore and not charge for it. If you're going to be a whore, you better fucking charge for it. Either in utility or in monetary ways, or even in emotional gain. If you get nothing at the end, you're a fucking failure as a whore. And if you're a failure as a whore, you're a failure as a female. Failure as a woman. Absolute failure in every way possible, no matter how much you lie to yourself and make yourself feel and with the facade look noble and successful. You're a failure. You're a free whore. The single woman, consistent with female nature, has the inability and the unwillingness to share. She's unable to relent or staunch or relent on their priorities. They are, in fact, incapable. They don't know how to share. They don't share, and they don't care. If you don't share, you don't care. And if you don't share, you can't give. You don't give. You only take. And all they want is to take. What can I take from this so-called relationship male that I have coming in? What can I take? It doesn't even have to be what I can give. It has to be, but it must be what I can share with this individual, with this partner. And they don't know the meaning of the concept of sharing because they've never shared in their life. In fact, when they had to share, they ended whatever relationship they were in. And very often that was marriage, short-lived marriage. They're too afraid to share. In the bubble, you don't need to share. In the bubble. Her staunch commitment to herself. Absolute narcissism. Commitment to herself because she's unable to love. She doesn't know the feeling of loving someone. Period. It's unknown to her. It's only known to her as a concept, as an ideal, as an artificial manufactured construct. And she promotes it. And she presents herself as one. She plays the role. She plays the role for her own comfort and for her own self-satisfaction, in order that she will feel that she is acting as the perfect girl. Because she does have the archetype of what the perfect girl should be acting as and being. And she has to act it out, and she acts it out every second. But it's a role. It's no different from an actor on stage whose true personality is nothing like what he is portraying in the acting job. It's called a great actor. Women are naturally great actresses. What does a whore do? A whore fakes. Everything a whore does is fakery. She mimics. She mimics real, true, and sincere emotions. She mimics the relationship. She mimics caring. She mimics sexual arousal. The whole thing is insincere, and what the whore does is the whore fakes sincerity. And whoever is good at faking sincerity is a great whore. And women really know how to fake sincerity. That she needs to pretend the image that she has to become, adhere to, or to participate in. The image must be promoted at all times. She must not be detected who she really is. When it comes to the male, she mimics having sensibility. Sensibility meaning empathy, sympathy, devotion, loyalty, or to have sensibility for. But she doesn't. She doesn't. It's absolutely foreign and unknown to her. She can only play the role. It doesn't come from the heart. It doesn't come from hormones. It has no emotional component, only in terms of narcissism. What's in it for me? What is he doing for me? What will he do for me? What can I get for me? That's love to a woman. And there's a differentiation between single women who have been married previously for an extended period of time, years, and to a single woman who has been single for an extended period of time. There's a world of difference between the two women, even though fundamentally they both have all the characteristics of female nature and exhibit that. However, the single woman cannot mitigate her solipsism. She cannot relent in her narcissism. And she also she loses the skills to be able to do it. And this is the sad part. She literally has no skills. I keep bringing up that word. In order to execute all the provisions necessary to commence or to maintain, to set the foundation of any relationship. So she's stuck with the fuck buddy. She's stuck with the one night stand. She's stuck with the phone messages, the texting. She is very, very far away from commitment, from a man's commitment. Women have to understand, and it's sad for women. This is where female suffering also comes into play. Not just male suffering, but female suffering. Good news for you guys, males. Good news for males. It's tragic for women because getting fucked and getting commitment is separated by a huge chasm. Mostly an insurmountable chasm. Distance. So getting fucked is in fact, for a woman, getting nothing. And women know this. Because that's not where their validation comes from. Their validation comes from commitment. Not for us guys. Our validation comes from, actually, possession. Possession. We want to possess the woman. And if we feel we possess the woman, we get our validation. To own, the feeling of owning a woman. But a woman needs commitment. And you can get fucked as many times as you want to in a single night. Just as the whore, you get no commitment. You end up with nothing. The bottom line, girls, and if you're going to take away and learn anything from this video, and this piece of professional advice is worth $1. Yeah, definitely. It is that for any man to give you commitment, he first has to feel that he owns you. You're his property. And take all the feminist bullshit out of your head that has destroyed you in your femininity. You've lost your femininity. They've taken it away. They've denied it. They've denied you your own femininity. They made you grow a penis instead. So clean your brain out from the garbage. A male has to possess you first. He's got to be possessive. That's why males are possessive. Once he feels he owns you and you're emotionally sincere, then naturally, according to every characteristic and every pattern of male nature, he's going to instinctually give you commitment. But first, he has to own you. So if you have no skills of getting a man to feel that he owns you, if you've got no skills or ability or volition to give yourself to a man unconditionally, you will never get commitment.